All right. If everybody will settle down, good afternoon. Welcome to the first full meeting of House Judiciary Non-Civil. At this time, I'd like to ask Vice Chairman Crow to open us in a word of prayer. Which one are you? Probably.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us once again to come together to do the business of the state of Georgia and the citizens of the state of Georgia. Lord, be with us as we debate these important issues, guide us, direct us, and have us do it in a way that would be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Crow. First on the agenda, we have House Bill 881, a member of our own committee, Representative Gullett. If you're ready, Representative Gullett, what number are you? Okay.
Sorry. Good afternoon, members of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this bill is related to our Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Council, our commission that we were created last year. It does just a couple of things. One, if you look on line 15, it strikes out that the standards and rules shall be effective only upon review and adoption by the Supreme Court. And that's because the Supreme Court decided not to review or adopt the rules. They didn't, it wasn't a negative, it wasn't a positive, it was just they're not going to take those up. So this addresses that. On line 23, you'll see a change related to mental or physical incapacity. And what this does, it narrows what that means. It says that it firstly affects the performance of his or her duties. And so you'll see line 24 through 27 where it says if you're out 10 months or less in the year, you wouldn't be considered a medical leave of absence. I mean, you wouldn't be considered physically or mentally incapacitated. But if you are out more than 10 months, that would be a trigger to say you're not doing your job, and you can be removed as district attorney. And then on line 41, right there, we're talking about who has jurisdiction for your appeal as a district attorney. So the jurisdiction would be in the Superior Court that you're the district attorney of as far as the circuit. And so once that Superior Court made their ruling, that would then allow you to appeal it to the Supreme Court if you wished. It's no different in 49 through 51. We just made the court that would take this hearing, instead of being Fulton County, it would actually be the Superior Court of the circuit that you represent. So that's what this bill does. It's not too complicated. Happy to answer any questions for it.
Representative Gullett, that's LC 481076S is in Sierra, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sorry.
Okay,
I'd like to give that to you.
All right. Thank you. Very quick and to the point. We appreciate that for the first bill in committee this year. Any discussion from members of the committee for the author of the bill? Let's see, number 6. That's Representative Neal.
Thank you. Thank you to the chair. Thank you for your presentation. So I'm just curious, out of curiosity, this area is not completely my wheelhouse, but I did want to know, so is it not true that the Supreme Court, is it within their right or their discretion that they can take up whatever case or not? Is they have that choice? Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I believe so. I'm not a lawyer either, but I believe you're right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, number 5, Representative Kendrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is similar to Representative Neal's, which is, did the Supreme Court give any reason for not taking up and promulgating these rules?
Not that I read, no.
All right. Number 8, Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for your succinct presentation. Just a follow-up question to my colleagues. Is it not true that the Supreme Court questioned whether or not constitutionally, based on the separation of powers, that they had the constitutional authority to regulate prosecutors outside of the judicial space? In other words, they recognize their authority to represent prosecutors participating in the judicial process, but in acting within the executive realm, they questioned whether or not they had the power to do that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they took, I'm not sure motions. They asked everyone to make their responses related to that question, yes.
Okay.
I don't think they ruled on it as far as I know.
Okay. They declined, in fact, to review any rules, basically saying that they thought that it was outside of their constitutional authority based on the separation of powers to regulate the executive branch. Is that fair?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I mean, I read it, but I don't remember the exact wording, but I trust you. So
Okay.
if that's what you say, sure.
Okay. And so if I may just go a little bit beyond scope with Mr. Chairman's permission, one of the chief complaints that were raised by opponents of the prosecutor oversight bill was that it appeared to be driven by politics. Do you recall many discussions about that?
Sure, I remember lots of discussions on this bill last year. So, yep.
Okay.
Some people believe that it was related to politics. I disagree with that, but yes.
Okay. And you're familiar with a complaint that was, or are you familiar with a complaint that was filed very shortly after the bill was signed into law against Madam District Attorney Fonnie Willis? Are you familiar with that complaint?
No, I heard people saying they were going to file, but I'm not familiar with that complaint. I know that there were a bunch of complaints filed, though, not just about her, but my own DA had complaints filed against him, and I'm sure probably every DA had a complaint filed to them. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Understood. And is there a concern with the framework as it has been enacted that individuals who are responsible for appointing members to the commission are also able to file complaints about district attorneys? In other words, I have the authority, I don't, but if I had the authority as a representative to appoint members to the commission, I then could also file complaints about prosecutors that I had problems with. Is there a concern about any kind of conflict in that regard?
I believe that these folks who were appointed are well-established individuals with good ethics, and that if there was a complaint filed by someone who appointed them, I don't believe that would take additional weight for them, if that's what you're trying to say here, and that they were appointed because of the role that they played in their communities, whether elected a former elected DA or an elected DA or a judge or whatever it was, and that they take that seriously, and that they want to serve the right way. So I don't believe it would take additional weight if that's where you're going with this, but I don't believe because of that, I don't believe there's an ethical concern.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Representative. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Let's see, Chairman Saines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this bill back. Do you think there's a political angle to ensuring that citizens across the state who've been victims of violent crimes have the prosecutor's office to lean on and ensure that those crimes get prosecuted?
I think we represent people, and the justice system really isn't political, but as a politician, I believe that it's important that we, our constituents are taken care of, and that our justice system acts properly. Yes.
I have a specific question to line 49 and 50, and just in terms of the logic of moving it from the Fulton County Superior Court to the original. I get I like the rationality, but is there a reason we are modifying it here for that?
I think it just keeps it in play as far as where they are and what they represent, and it's a fairness factor for those, and of where it's being heard and appealed to.
Thanks.
Number 14, Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative. Certainly, we listened to a lot of this bill last session. So I'd like to know, would this commission do anything about the rogue activities and the corrupt behaviors of DAs at this time, if prior to the inception of this commission?
So the original bill had a start date of when they would begin hearing. I believe that the commission pushed that date out because the rules and regs weren't adopted. I'm not sure at what point they will begin here. You know, what behaviors, is there a date that behavior started on the current commission? I'm not sure where that's at because it's on hold at the moment. But I believe because the rules are already written, just waiting on them to be able to be adopted now. This kind of adds that. I'm not sure what the behavior date is though. I'd have to ask the commission.
So further question?
Sure.
So would it be entirely forward-looking for this commission as opposed to looking back?
So, again, I don't know because initially it was a date set. I don't have the date in front of me, but say it was July 1st or whatever date we set in the original bill. They wrote the rules, and that was the date that we put in the legislation. I don't know what's happened because of this, because of the Supreme Court's decision not to take up the rules. What's happened with that? I can't answer it. I don't know.
One last question.
Mm-hmm.
So is it not true then that this bill will do nothing for any rogue or corrupt DA at this point?
I can't say that either because I don't know that the commission, that the filings that they have or the requests that they have come in that they hopefully will be able to investigate soon. I don't know where that stands, but I would say I think if your past behavior is a lot of times indicative of your future behavior. And so if we have some rogue district attorneys, and it's not just rogue, I think rogue's not, I mean, that's one of the things we're trying to focus here, but district attorneys in wherever, Republican or Democrat. I had a Republican one that was no good. That's the reason I did this bill 4 years ago maybe. And they weren't rogue, but they held the office, they brought down the office, and no one trusted the judicial process anymore because they continue to sexually harass employees, cost the county a lot of insurance money and money for payments to, and again, no one trusted the process. And that's one of the most valuable things I think in our process, judicial process, is that people should trust it. And if they trust the process, that's kind of what our foundation's on. And when people in the judicial process aren't doing the right things that we laid out in the legislation, I think that this, lacks trust, and then people really don't trust that the right things are happening to the right people, and that justice is really served at the end of the day, and that's what this is about. So whether it's the past, I can't answer that, or if it's only future going from here, I don't know.
So it triggered another thought. Sorry.
Sure.
So what happened with this DA that you are specifically talking about?
Yeah, he sat there until he could get his retirement, and he ended up getting disbarred later on after he got his retirement. So he sat there for about 2 years when no one trusted the process, and then qualified for his 10 years to get his retirement, and then resigned from office.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Number 18, Chairman Leverett.
I'm 18.
Oh, you're 18.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's right. Hold on a second. I just don't like that number. That's Kyle Bush, No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Number 6, Representative Neal.
Yes, sir. Thank you to the chair. I just had another question out of curiosity. So, from what I'm gathering, do you believe that a bill such as this, that every time the Supreme Court decides to not take up an issue, that it'll create a practice where people in this body will then try to insert oneself into that process, by moving forward with something like this, from the perspective of, say there's another issue that the Supreme Court decides not to take up, and say somebody in this body doesn't like it one way or the other, regardless of what side you're on. Do you think this will start like a slippery slope of every time the Supreme Court decides not to take up something that we're going to try to legislate it then?
So we're all representatives and who can drop legislation.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think so. Passing the bills is hard, okay. And as you guys know, and I don't think this is something that's every single decision that comes out, that someone's going to drop legislation, that legislation is going to go through the process, get passed. And no, I don't think so. But I would say, when you're a judge, you pick winners and losers at the end of the day, and that's, they didn't pick a winner or a loser. They just didn't play in the game, and so, and game's not really the right word, but they didn't play. And so that's where we are.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one follow-up, Representative Gullett, on somewhat related to my colleague's question just a moment ago. What is the projected cost annually to taxpayers for the Prosecutor Oversight Commission?
Yeah, we budgeted $1 million for it.
Okay. And does that include litigation costs?
Yes, that's the full cost of the commission.
Okay. So
as by the public, the budget folks who give us the tally on what it's going to cost.
okay, so $1 million a year to include staff, salaried staff, and then litigation costs related to the business of the commission?
Yes.
Okay. And if a district attorney is brought before the commission, do they get appointed counsel? In other words, does the commission cover the cost of the district attorney being brought before it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know whether or not it would be the state or the district attorney's respective county who would be responsible for litigating matters before the commission?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Is that?
But that was really last year's focus.
Okay.
We did the commission last year. I think the body approved the commission. This is just making the commission workable.
I understand. I was just curious about that, about that question. So, at the time that that this was being drafted, what by yourself and your colleagues, did you foresee or contemplate whether or not it would be the county who would bear the expense of the prosecutor or the state who would bear the expense of the prosecutor being brought before it? Did that come up at all?
No, that wasn't really in the, sure it came up, I'm sure. I don't remember having a specific goal of what, how that was going to play out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So often in my committees, I talk about unfunded mandates. Our prosecutor's office, DA's offices they struggle with resources as it is. And so it sounds like there hasn't been much exploration into what the additional funds it may cost them, the county, the state, as it relates to this council bringing charges again, or saying that they have to come before the council for these investigations. I just struggle with that because they're elected by the people. The people elect them based on how they think that person who's been elected is going to use those resources. There aren't finite, there are not infinite resources in these offices. And so it just seems to me that we're setting ourselves up on either side of the aisle for issues with costing taxpayers more when we've had processes in place. If your DA was disbarred, it sounds like they used one of those processes that we've talked about. I'd love to see where the $1 million came in, because I know how much litigation costs as a lawyer, and to put that on, to not provide for that DEA having defense covered for them. They already don't make a significant amount of money and their budgets are limited. So now you're putting an additional burden. So I worry about who's going to be willing to run for these seats when we want quality people. And I'm just wondering if you've thought about that, because that's a bipartisan issue.
Yeah, but I think that was really what this committee, the Rules Committee, the whole House, the Senate Committee, the Senate, weighed when the legislation passed. What I'm trying to do is make this commission that the legislature and the legislature passed, the governor signed, work And so the costs and things are not what we're changing, and this commission has done. It's there. So the things you guys are worried about aren't what we're talking about with this bill change. And so while I appreciate that, that's just getting us off into a rabbit hole. That's not really what this bill is doing right now. This bill is doing three things.
Well, isn't it true that we bring legislation to clean up stuff or to fix unintended consequences all the time? And you've provided a potential vehicle for us to fix more than what you're trying to fix. My other issue is that having the Supreme Court approve the rules was some sense of having some sort of nonpartisan review, and now the bill it's purely partisan now.
Well, I think in 2018, my friends across the aisle wanted to have a prosecutor oversight commission. Representative William Bodie dropped a bill, and so I don't believe this is a partisan issue. At the end of the day, there are Republican DAs out there who haven't done the right thing sometimes, and there's some Democrat DAs who haven't done the right thing sometimes, and that's where we are today. And I don't think the justice system, if you've been neglected in the justice system by a district attorney, then that's a not partisan issue. That happens in urban, that happens in rural, happens in suburban areas. It's across the board. You guys are making it into a partisan issue when it's not. There's a problem. There's a problem across the way.
I apologize. I didn't make my question clear. I don't disagree that the issue of an ineffective DA might not be, it would be nonpartisan, absolutely. My point is that now every single member appointed to any of these commissions who are going to decide whether or not to charge a prosecutor, to find guilt with a prosecutor, are now being appointed by all partisan members. And the Supreme Court is not even giving any oversight over these appointments, these rules, how it's set up. So that is very partisan currently.
Yeah, but I'd have to look, but I believe that even when Representative Bodie dropped this bill in 2018, it's aligned with how we have appointed ours. And so
I wasn't here in 2018. I'm happy to
I
go
wasn't
review
either.
it, but I highly doubt he had the governor or the speaker, all of them appointing all of the positions, because we weren't in charge back then either.
I understand, but it just...
Is there any thought that you would consider changing the appointment process and allowing the other side of the aisle to be part of the count to appoint members of the council, since we don't have the oversight of the Supreme Court anymore?
I'm trying to do what's on this paper right here, and this is a committee of people who can do different things as well. So if, that's not something I'm offering. If something else offers it and it happens to pass, then, we'll deal with what we got.
Well, this is just coming up fast, and we often,
We've
as
talked about 4 years, though. So it's not
the fact that now we don't even have the oversight of the Supreme Court. And so that's a whole new factor. Changes this bill tremendously. And so it just would have been nice to have an opportunity to perhaps talk through and discuss potential amendments that would make it less partisan. I think the public would like to know that we're trying to work in a bipartisan fashion, and that these members are going to be appointed in a bipartisan fashion, because that's what Georgia is, So
I'll just remind everybody, just because we're in full, you can still amend stuff. I know other committees don't really think too much of that, but we're still doing Judiciary Non-Civil, always have since I've been here, and will remain so as long as I'm here. So if anybody wants to offer an amendment, that's what the process is for, whether sub or full. Before I take any other members, just to spell my fellow Paulding County delegation mate, I know we have one individual signed up who drove from not too awfully far away, but that ride back north can be a little tough up on 85 and 400. So Mr. Bill Finch, Forsyth County
Thank you.
Solicitor. Bill, if you'll pull one of those microphones close down.
Is that better?
That's better.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be very brief. I spoke against this bill last year, not for some of the same reasons that are being brought up here, but specifically because there's nothing in this bill that undergirds or supports what the my political party stands for. And I say that with a deep respect and an admiration for members of my party who have carried the flag of republicanism for a very long time. But when I'm looking at this, and Representative Gullett did not mention solicitors general, even though the bill says solicitors general. If you want to take us out of it, I'd appreciate it, and I can end my testimony right now. This body does not give me any money to prosecute any of the crimes that I have jurisdiction over in Forsyth County. But yet what this bill will do is substitute the will of the voters of Forsyth County who have put me into office. That's a very dangerous thing for us to create. It is a very dangerous vehicle. I would urge that instead of spending that money on the oversight bill, that instead what this body and the Senate do is it treat DUI alcohol crimes just like sex crimes, child sex crimes, that you add propensity to commit that crime to what is admissible in front of a jury. That will do more for creating public safety in my county than this oversight bill will do. And I would urge y'all to get out of the marijuana business. We're tiptoeing on both sides of the aisle. We're giving corporations million-dollar licenses to make money off of marijuana. At the same time, I am charged with upholding the law, and it is very difficult when the GBI is not funded to test those substances. These private corporations are making money hand over fist. They should be required to test for the state of Georgia if the state of Georgia is going to give them a license. I will let the members here, I will say this one more time. I won't repeat everything I did last time, but this is a very dangerous thing when you create rules to overcome a result that you don't like. Harry Reid did the same thing when Obama could not get his federal judges approved. And so he got rid of the filibuster, which is a very valuable tool in the Senate. And Obama got a lot of his federal judgeships approved because the Democrats changed the rules. And the minority leader at the time, Mitch McConnell, says, I'm going to get my revenge, and he got it. He got it in the form of Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Now, I like the makeup of the Supreme Court, but I imagine that the Democrats who created this weapon don't agree with me right now. So I would ask that y'all not create this weapon. It will be turned against us. Thank y'all. Anybody have any questions?
I know some of y'all may have been left over from earlier, but let's see. Had you?
No, it was not.
Okay, all right. I tell you, you got a solicitor in the hot seat, and none of y'all want to ask a question. God.
Thank y'all.
All right, Mr. Finch.
I appreciate your time.
Personally, we thank you for being here in
Yes.
front of the committee and spending time, and appreciate your insight on this process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. All right. I know we had some questions for Representative Gullett that were left over, so Representative Gullett, I'm going to make your mic hot.
Okay.
Representative Byrd.
Yes.
Maybe not that hot, Mr.
Maybe too hot.
Are we good? Thank you. Is it not true that the General Assembly already has investigative authority?
I'll help you out on that. yes, there is a obscure statute that the head, I think it was Rick Ruskell at Biennial, always points out to us. I have it somewhere in my notes.
I think it is OCGA 45-5-6, if I'm not mistaken. And I also, which also leads me, is it not true that the General Assembly also has impeachment authority?
I'm going to ask the representative to keep her questions to what's actually within the legislation or that statute as a whole. That issue's not before the committee right now.
Thank you.
Representative Gullett, would you like to respond? All right. Representative Miller, I know you weren't before. Or you got another question? Okay. Representative Miller.
Thank you. Representative Gullett, the commission itself, as I recall, one of the chief complaints that informed this bill, as I understand it, was that there were prosecutors who were not making charging decisions. In other words, they were not exercising their discretion and wholesale saying that there were certain categories of offenses that they would not prosecute. Was that one of the things that inspired this bill?
It didn't inspire the bill, but that was one of the things that affected a number of legislators throughout the state.
And in fact, the Oversight Commission itself says that a prosecutor is responsible to review every case and to make an appropriate charging decision. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in furtherance of that, the bill provides that you shall not make a complaint against a prosecutor for a charging decision that has been made unless there are certain things that you can demonstrate, you can prove, correct?
Right.
Okay. And so you would agree, or would you agree, that a charging decision that has been made by a prosecutor is really the bedrock of what prosecutors are elected to do, correct?
Bringing justice to those, sure, maybe.
Right. Weighing the facts as they understand them against the law as it exists and making a decision about whether or not to charge using their discretion. Would you agree with that?
High up there for sure. Yeah, I had to think about it, but yeah, sure.
Okay. And so if a prosecutor were brought before the commission because of a charging decision they made, there would have to be a fairly robust showing, factual showing, that that prosecutor's charging decision was based on something other than the facts as they understand them and the law as it exists. Would you agree that that's what your bill supports?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Number 13, Vice Chairman Reeves.
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I have a motion.
Okay, all right. I'll entertain motion.
I move due pass.
All right, got a move, do, pass. Second. Got a move, do, pass in a second. Any amendments? All right, let's see. I think it was Representative Kendrick. I thought you had to be out of here by 2 o'clock, so thank you for staying with us.
I would like to make a friendly amendment to, where's the other? A friendly amendment to add okay, this is okay, I'm just going to say this and somebody can put it in the correct posture that's needed to. I want to make an amendment to the makeup of the commission to add that 2 members of the minority party are allowed to get an appointment.
Two members of, okay. As far as the Senate, House, state party,
Let's make it, yeah, let's make it the minority leader in the House and the minority leader in the Senate.
and that would be in addition to the appointments already, just to clarify for.
Correct.
Okay.
We talking about the commission, or about the hearing panel?
The hearing panel.
Okay.
Yeah, the hearing, the investigative panel, that's what I was talking about. Yes, 3 of the,
Be great if we could get one of the members of the hearing panel.
yeah, I was talking about the investigative panel, but see this,
We need one of the hearing too.
yeah.
So add one of the hearing as well.
Okay, well, let me, can I do them both? I think I have to, I think I'm gonna do them separate motions. We're just trying to stall at this point. Look, at this point, I'm trying to,
I think that's probably the cleaner way, than taking things out that we already have.
Okay. So that would be amending section E.
Under subsection.
Of the existing statute, that is.
Commission, we're talking about the investigative panel, or the hearing panel. I see some changes there too. 74 new bill.
Okay, we're gonna give our analysts time to figure where all those amendments would go, just so members have the correct.
The appointments. This is E4, right? You're fine. I'm trying to think it's,
Chairman Leverett.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted some clarification on the amendment. Are we adding to the composition so that we're increasing the number of members on one or the other of the panels? Or are we simply requiring that of those members currently to be appointed in the statute, 2 of them have to be members of the minority party
Let's
and
go
one
with
of
that
the
one.
Mr.
legislative
Chairman,
body?
as I understood their amendment, that they would be adding 2 additional members to the panel,
That's
if I
fine.
heard Representative Kendrick correct.
To which panel?
To the investigative panel.
The
Investigative panel.
investigative panel.
So we're gonna have a 7-member investigative panel now.
That seems to be what
You can amend it.
the amendment would be, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Representative Roberts, are you trying to,
Can I make a substitute motion? Is that appropriate
a
now?
what?
A substitute
To
motion?
my amendment.
To,
Oh, we're on your amendment.
we're still on Representative Kendrick's amendment. Hold on just a second, we'll get to you. Unless you wanna withdraw your amendment and,
Well,
Can
no,
I-
don't do that because we may not get the substitute motions. We need to table this one.
We can,
if you wanted to do it, they have
Okay,
the qualification.
all right, just so everybody knows where all this would, apply to, I'm gonna have our analysts read out which sections that investigative panel is mentioned within the existing code section to provide some clarification.
It looks like the statute that's affected is 15/18/32, and it looks like, I want to say subsection E. Yeah. It's lines 102 of the previous bill, if anybody has it up to. So we'd have to strike 5 members and make that 7 members. And then you'd have to add language in at the very end to your point, Chairman.
Could I clarify or substitute my amendment? Instead of, we still have 5 members, it would just be 2 out of the 5 would be members of the
I think the proper procedure would be to withdraw your
Okay.
amendment.
I
and
withdraw
submit
my
it that
amendment.
way. Okay. All right. And I think you had a substitute or a different amendment.
So my motion would be to substitute 2 out of the 5 commission's investigative panel members.
And can you tell us which code section you're referring to so members of the committee understand where this amendment would be to?
I can give them a line.
I know we're trying to refer to an old bill, but this is now codified law.
This would be chapter 18 of Title 15 of OCGA, revising code section 15-18-6. Where you at? Page you at? Oh, 15 OCGA 15-1832.
Okay. If you'll repeat that one more time for the attorney analyst as he's going through the statute.
Okay, my motion would be to substitute 2 out of the 5 members of the commission's investigative panel. So we'll be revising OCGA 15-1832. That's what I said. That's what I said. So you would have to strike this one.
I would just do House, Senate, and minority.
So you at least have to, you would have to strike this one, because otherwise it would make 6.
We're just changing who gets to do it. I don't care. They can.
Right, but they still have this one, that's what I'm saying, so we would have to strike that one, because you said governor, lieutenant
I don't
governor,
want 6.
speaker.
I want us to have 2 out of 5.
Right. So my point is, we need to
We just
strike
have to switch it out for one
Right,
of the
right,
different.
that's what I
Yes, but not strike it. Yes, but switch who gets what right.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be included, is what I mean by strike, like they wouldn't,
Correct.
that person would not be.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad. And the speaker would only get 1.
Right. Let me write this down, one more pen.
Okay, we're gonna stand at ease for 5 minutes and come back. All right, we'll come back to order. I think we're ready to go. Thank you to Legislative Council, Ms. Holly, for helping us out on that. Representative Kendrick, you want to just clarify
Yes.
which code section your amendment would apply to, just for clarification for the committee?
Yes, I want to do that. First, I want to withdraw the original amendment.
Okay, we got that.
And no, this is another withdrawal. And then we're restating it again.
Okay.
So this is to edit 15:18:32. We'll get an appointment.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this will be known as the Kendrick Amendment. Kendrick Roberts Amendment. I'm going to let our analyst just go back over that real quick for us.
Okay, so we'd be addressing code section 15:18:32 in subsection D 3A. You would be changing, the speaker has one appointment. It's on line. It's on, I think that's small section 3 there. So you'd be changing it from the speaker would have one appointment, and then the House and Senate minority leader would both also have an additional. I'm sorry, you'd have the House minority leader would have an appointment within there. I believe you just want no. There's no specific qualification, just one to be appointed by the House minority leader, or the minority leader of the House of Representatives.
Yes, qualifications.
Okay, and then I guess there'd be 5. There'd be a new 5 that looks like it would add one similar language, but then appointed by the Senate minority leader. Then you'd go down dealing with the hearing panel, and that's subparagraph, I think, like 3A, or I'm sorry, 4, and then you'd go down in D. You'd create a new D and E, one to be appointed by a Senate minority leader, with other being one to be appointed by the House minority leader. That's what I have. Is that accurate?
Okay, got a move second on the Kendrick Amendment. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed to the Kendrick Roberts amendment say no. No. Everybody raise your hand if you're for. All right. Those opposed? All right. It does not pass. Representative Roberts,
Can I make a substitute motion?
is it ready to go with all the
Yes.
subsect? Okay.
Yeah.
Representative Roberts.
I'd like to make a motion to table so that we might discuss making this a more fair process for the people of Georgia since it has changed substantively with the Supreme Court not having oversight.
Okay, we've already got a move to pass on the bill, so that I'm going to rule that motion out of order at this time. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of passing the substitute to LC 481076S, say aye. All those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. This bill does pass on the rules. Yeah, we can do a count. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, no. It passes. Representative Gullett, stick around. We'll get the form filled out so you can take it on up the rules. With that, thank y'all for your attendance here for the first meeting of Judiciary Non-Civil. We'll probably see y'all again this week sometime. We are adjourned.